Good evening. My name is Dr. Kenny Ewulu. Welcome to our second Q&A live session for the Business Plan Academy for Veterans and Entrepreneurs. We normally start at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. I want to welcome all of us from all over the world. We're just going to have about 20 or 30 minutes of this. As you all know, this takes place on Tuesdays and Thursday evenings at 7 p.m. Eastern. Okay, so basically on our first meeting 2 days ago, we just kind of introduced ourselves and what this program is all about and what our aims and objectives are as we strive towards not just setting up our businesses, but putting together financials and business plans that will help us run our businesses, obtain funding, and all that good stuff. So today I'm going to field some questions for those of us who were on with us on Tuesday. I did say that you should send your questions by email to support@kdeleadership.com or to kene.ewulu@kdeleadership.com. So I'll have time to research some of those questions and give you answers that can really help resolve whatever bottlenecks you're facing. Having said that, I want to go back a bit today to recap on the things that we discussed a couple of days ago. The first thing we need to look at is before you even start setting up your business, which is the stuff we're looking at for week 1, okay? I know some of you already have your businesses set up and running, and you're just waiting to get onto the financials and the e-commerce websites and more serious stuff. But for those who are still thinking about starting their businesses, you're right at the right spot. The first thing you have to decide is choosing your ideal business sector, okay? You want to identify what type of business you want to do. You identify this by looking back at your training, your area of training, skills, and expertise, okay? Wherever you're coming from, be it from the military or you have retired and you're starting life afresh, starting your own business, or you're just fresh out of school and you want to really be a young entrepreneur, whatever the case may be, you want to carefully select your ideal business sector. What am I saying here? If you're trained as a chef or as a cook, okay, then you should be looking at a food-related business. If you're trained as an IT person, you should be looking at an IT-related business. If you're trained as a technician, you should be looking at a technical maintenance-related business. If you're an office person, maybe you should be looking at a human resource or office management and support business. And if you're, for instance, a mechanical engineer, you should be looking at an automation-related business. Whatever the case may be, what you should also consider is that you are focusing on recession-proof sectors that are available out there. And when I say that, I mean that it's either you're in that field or you're trying to align your business to any of those sectors. And you're going to ask me, what are the recession-proof sectors that I can think of, all right? Now, there's so many out there, but you want to look at a sector where, regardless of what the economy is like globally or nationally or locally, you can thrive because in that sector, the services are needed, are required. Now, these sectors include the medical field, the information technology field, the IT field, and the food business arenas. These are 3 areas that no matter what happens, no matter how bad the economy gets, majority of our population will visit the hospital when they get sick. That's the medical field. And when I say medical, I mean medicals, pharmaceuticals, diagnostics, anything at all that has to do with your health, okay? In this era of remote working, we all have to keep our computer systems working. So the IT sector has become paramount to doing business. So finding a way to either be the mainstream IT sector or service the IT sector, 1 or 2 little things you can service, provide some integral service that the IT sector needs to prosper. Guess what? You are in an IT, you're in a recession-proof sector. And then, of course, you want to also look at the food business, okay? Because no matter what happens, people have got to eat. And no matter how tough the economy is, they have to eat to survive. As I said, there's so many recession-proof sectors you may know of. The list is not limited to what I've given you here. So from the professional examples I've given, are you a chef or a cook? Are you an IT person, a technician, an office person, or a mechanical engineer? All you have to do is align your new business with the health, IT, and food business. You might also want to search again for the earning potentials of your selected field. There are certain fields that no matter how hard you work, you're going to be earning much lower. And there are certain fields that with the same amount of education and effort, your salary level will be much higher. Okay, so you want to also factor that into selecting your ideal business sector. Now, if your business was not mentioned here, you might want to find a way to remodel and realign your profession to these three viable sectors so you can always be in demand. Once you've made up your mind about that, we can now go into the business plan process, okay? Now, after choosing your ideal business sector, the next thing you want to do is to select your business, decide on a business name. All right. As I said, your business name has to be relevant to the business that you plan to do. You want to develop a name that says what you do, but at the same time, it's not too narrow to constrain you when you may want to add on to the types of services you offer. For instance, if you're in IT, you could use a name like John Doe Tech Solutions instead of John Doe IT Solutions. Why do I say that? The first one I mentioned, John Doe Technology Solutions, is broader, while the second one keeps you in that narrow lane of IT providers only. Now, if you're specialized and confident that your high specialization will reduce your client volume, then you may elect to use the John Doe IT Solutions type of business name. Okay, why I say this is you might want to broaden your areas of operation later on, bring in somebody else who can provide another specialized area. If your name is narrow to the IT solutions, you're not able to, it's narrow to the IT solutions, you're not able to do other technology stuff, okay? So you want to use the name John Doe Technology Solutions instead of John Doe IT Solutions, okay? Now, secondly, as soon as you select something like that, a name that fits you, not too long and not too short, you want to conduct quickly an online search to confirm if your choice of name already exists, okay? You can achieve this by just going to your browser and just type in business name search, okay? Add your state or country of business, okay? I can type in business name search or domicile, and guess what? You can even type in business name search Texas, or business name search Oregon, or business name search Uganda, or business name search Denmark. Whatever country that you're in, New Zealand, whatever the case may be, just type in business names check, and it will pull up definitely the agency that handles corporate registrations, okay? Once that happens, you will pick up whatever state of it is that you live in and go just follow the prompts and go from there. Basically, you can actually get in, you can just type in availability of name, type in that your name and see whether it's available. If somebody else has taken it, then you have to maybe retweak your name to get a variant of that name, just so that your name is unique. You don't want to have the same name as somebody else who's already doing business out there. They're going to take clientele from you because they're already searchable, they're already identifiable on the search engine optimization, SEO. So what you want to do is find something that is unique to yourself and then begin to build up your awareness in the internet world. Once you select that, you're good to go. And that's deciding on a business name. As I said, once you decide on a business name, the important thing is to secure it, okay? Once you secure a business name, that belongs to you. And that, how do you secure that? By applying to that Secretary of State. As soon as you see that it's available, apply immediately. All right. As I said, it doesn't cost that much. $100, sometimes less than $100 in different countries, just to get your company registered. Okay. When you talk about incorporation, it might be slightly more expensive, but the truth is, everything is done online now. You can pay online, you can fill your forms online, and within 10 days, you're going to know whether that company name belongs to you or not, okay? And that's why we schedule this in such a way that we can, on a weekly basis, move from one assignment to the other. So this week, your assignment is finding out what kind of business you want to be in and deciding on a business name. Once you decide on a business name, in week 2, you might want to go ahead in week 1 that we're in now and go ahead and apply for your business name, pay for it, okay, because it's going to take you about 10 days, which falls into the end of week 2. Okay, week 2, really, what we're looking at are your business registrations. So, but we want to start the process this week so that you can get results by the end of next week. So you'll be able to do the assignments that are due for week 3. Of course, in week 3, we're looking at URLs and email addresses, but we'll get to that soon. Now, also, 2 days ago, I shared with us what the business plan process is. And I want to share that with you right now, what the business plan process is. And I'll put that on the screen for you to see, even though these have been available for you for downloads on your week 1 study materials. They're already there for you to download or to access. But this is what you're going to see. This is what guides you over the next 10 weeks. Okay, right now we're on Module 1, learn and activate the process. As I said in Module 2, we're looking at business registrations. So this process I talked about now includes, as I just said, deciding on a business sector, deciding on a business name, starting the registration process, okay? Ensuring that it's available and starting the registration process. These are the things that you need to do this week. All right, so now having said that and dealt with that, if you have any issues or any problems, do not hesitate to either get with me. You know how to reach me. Go into the Facebook special page for BPAVE and just type in your questions. I'll be responding to them on Tuesday next week. For this week, for today's, I have a few questions that I picked up over the last 2 days. So I'm going to just respond to them right now before we call it a day. Somebody's asking which business name is best. Okay, there are different types of businesses: sole proprietorship, the one-man business type, limited partnerships where 2 people are together, but their liability is limited. The liability is limited, meaning that if anything happens, guess what? They have to bear the liability. And then you have the limited liability companies, the LLCs, or in some countries, they say the company limited. Okay, when you have that, you are a different entity as a person from the business. So your interests and that of the business are separate. If the business takes a downturn, your personal assets are protected. That's what a limited liability company does for you. So you might want to set up an LLC. Now, there are others also who are looking at setting up non-profits or non-governmental organizations, as is called in certain countries in Africa and in Europe. In the United States and in Canada and some other places, these are called non-profits. Okay, so a non-profit is also a business entity. The only difference is that at the end of the year, you're supposed to have a zero balance. You're there for philanthropic, community-based, social-based services, okay? Yes, you still have employees, you still have equipment and an office and all those things, but you're not there to make profit. You're not there to declare a profit at the end of the year. You're there to just make enough. You're not really making money. What you're doing is you're getting people to give you money so that you can prosecute this social agenda that you have in mind. It could be in ministry. It could be in providing for food and material for the homeless. Whatever it is that you're doing as a non-profit, you still have to go through this process of setting things up. So when you say which one is best, I would say an LLC is best, and then a non-profit. That way, a non-profit, you're not liable as well because it is a limited liability company, but it has a non-profit status. In the United States, it's called a 501c3, which means that it is tax deductible. Anybody who gives money into that your non-profit will have it deducted from their taxes at the end of the year. So that way, it's just a way of government helping the non-profits who provide social services. So having said that, that's the answer to that question. Which business name is best? The LLC. Now, if you're thinking of the S corporation or the C corporation, you might want to do any of those, okay? Any of those corporations, the only thing about them is that, yes, you're paying taxes. In one of them, you're paying more tax than the other. I'm going into a lot of detail here, but all you have to do is go into Google. I did a lot of, some of the handouts that you have actually did explain a little bit more about those. I actually do think I might have something like that here for you, but I'm not sure. I have it up here. So we're just going to move on. Now, the second question we have is, when during this process should you begin to pursue your URL? The URL is what is your uniform resource locator. That's what has kdleadership.com, all right? Microsoft.com, Amazon.com, all right? That URL, as soon as you have your business name procured, meaning you've paid the government, and even though they haven't sent you the papers, but you know that that name is secure for you, you've paid and you're just waiting for due process, a week or so for the physical documents to come to you, you can go ahead and snag a URL, because again, getting a URL is urgent, okay? You don't want to go in there and find that the URL that would have suited your business name has been taken by somebody else, okay? So you want to also search and make sure it's available. And if it is, go ahead and get your URL. How do you do that? Well, as soon as you secure your business name, how you get your URL, you go to GoDaddy.com or Media Temple or Kajabi. You can use any platform out there that can host you. Okay, there's so many of them out there. Just Google that. How do I host? How do I get a URL? And you'll be able to get it online. It's easy. It's something you can just get in, and within 30 minutes or so, you have a URL. These things are pretty fast nowadays. And then you can begin to talk about websites. We're going very far right now. Then somebody else is asking, what about TIN numbers and accounts? Now, TIN numbers are further down the line. You have to set up your business name. You have to have your URL before you get a TIN number. A TIN number is a tax identification number. You want to be sure that your company can be identified by a tax number in whatever city or country you live in. That's what tells the government that this entity exists. That TIN number is the identification number for your company. Okay, when you pay taxes at the end of the year of your business year, guess what? Those taxes are accrued to that number, that TIN number. Now, in certain countries, you can't even open a corporate bank account without a TIN number. Now, something I want to share with you is that a TIN number costs you nothing. You just go again to Google, type in, how do I get a TIN number? And the IRS, if it's in the United States, the tax agency in whatever country you live in will pop up. And you just go there and you get a TIN number. In the United States, you can get it in 10 minutes, okay? And it doesn't cost you anything, because a TIN number is something, when you get your TIN number, it's your corporate identifier when you go to the bank to open a bank account. That's the first thing they're going to ask you. Do you have a TIN number? Do you have a URL? A URL means that you should have kenny.ewulu@kdleadership.com. All right? They're going to ask you, do you have a URL? Do you have an email address? Your email address should be your official email address. As I said, it makes you look corporate and serious. So that's answering that question. Your TIN number and bank accounts can be done after your URL is obtained. So when you now get into the banks, you have all these things in place: business name, address, where the business is located. It could be your home. Most of us are working from our homes nowadays because we're contractors and consultants. And then, of course, your TIN number and your URL. Now, having said that, I have one other question. I'll also want you to start from next week, once these are done and in place. And for some of us who already have our businesses set up and are looking at the next thing, you might have website issues. It's time also to start collating your content for your website. And when I say content, I mean photos, products, videos, payment page, contact page. You want to have your website in place. You can start building it as well. There's so many free website hosts out there. As I said again, GoDaddy is there. Kajabi, you have to pay a fee. I think it's about $150 a month. WordPress, they have a free version. You can actually start with the free version and begin to build your website, put in your content and all that. But a word of warning here, when it's time to activate the e-commerce part of your website, meaning to put in payment buttons for your goods and services, so people can go to your website and purchase what you have to sell to them, whatever your services are, you might need to upgrade from that free, if it's WordPress or Media Temple or whoever it is that you're using, you might need to upgrade from the free one to a standard one, a small fee or something per month or per year. Sometimes it's something as small as $10 a month or $20 a month or $100 a year, something like that. But that's the higher it goes, the more capable the more capabilities you have. You actually be able to host your videos on them, host photographs of your goods and services there, and most importantly, your payment buttons that are linked up to PayPal or to Stripe or to some of the other sales platforms, WooCommerce and what have you. So these are the questions that I have in place today, how to begin to do this. Now, I don't want you to jump the gun. If you just follow what our course outline tells you, and with that I'm looking at, let me put this back on again for you. Putting this back on for you. So basically, if you follow what our process framework tells you and just follow it diligently, you will be fine. So I need you this week to just focus on module 1, learn and activate the process. Go ahead and start the process of setting up, choosing your business sector, choosing your business name, procuring that business name, starting the incorporation process or the business registration process. Now, I'm not going to finish it this week. As you can see in module 2, that's all we're doing next week, getting our business registrations in place, all right? So there's no hurry, you're not behind at all. I need you to just calm down and let's just move on at the pace of what you see right now. Now, having said that, I'm also looking out again for a few questions as there might be, and if there are no other questions, I'll be closing us down for the night. Next week, Tuesday, will be week 2, session 3, Q&A, and that's on Tuesday, 7 p.m. Eastern, Facebook Live, and on Zoom. So we'll be sending you the Zoom invites for those who are enrollees in the program, so that you can either join by Zoom, or if you're not able to join, watch us on Facebook. But as the case may be, I'm trying to look now to see whether there's any questions in the chat box before I will say I will call it a day. So now I'm looking right now. I don't see any questions now. So let's recap, okay? We'll just take a few minutes to recap now, and then we're done. This week, we looked at introduction, welcoming you to Business Plan Academy for Veterans and Entrepreneurs, BPAVE. All right, we also looked at about your instructor, where I introduced myself and what I do and where I can be found and all that good stuff. And then we looked at the course objectives and outline, where I outlined all the modules from 1 to 10. And that's where I also showed you that process map that I just took off. That process map shows you the modules 1 to 10 to the very end to achieve the goals and objectives. And then we also talked about how to achieve your ideal business sector. These were what I called the pre-module 1 activities. You were supposed to have accessed them over last weekend, taking the weekend to look through them, and then focus on the classes starting this week. Now, having done all that, module 1 is a process where you actually learn what is expected of us as we go on, and then focus on starting your business name selection and registration process. Next week, which is module 2, we'll be looking at business registrations. If you've done that already, we can move over to week 3, which will be looking at URLs and email addresses. And if you've done that already, we'll be looking at week 4, where you're looking at TIN numbers and websites. So there's a lot of ground for us to cover. It's not too late. Once again, I want to welcome you to BPAVE. For those of you who are just joining us, some people are just beginning to join us right now towards the end of the week, and that's still okay. You haven't missed much, especially if you already have a business going and you're focused on the business plan and the financials, which are coming up in week 5, week 6, week 7, up to week 9. So there's still time for that. So having said that, I want to once again say thank you for joining us today. Remember, send us your questions by email to support@kdeleadership.com or to Kenny, KENE.ewulu, EWULU, @kdeleadership.com. That way, I'll be ready to answer those questions next week. Thank you so much for being here tonight. And everyone, please be safe out there, okay?